Hello, everyone. This is author Tim Brown of the book Uncommon Athletes, Filled with Passion, Fuel Your Purpose. Today, I'm blessed to have on this episode of Uncommon Athletes series, Mr. Duke Pryor, Coach Duke Pryor. I've been blessed to watch Duke grow up. You know, I remember as a baby, as a young guy, he would come around the NCAA first team basketball. Now he was an intern at that time, I believe. And then he worked his way up to being assistant director and then also involved in iHoops. And then he transitioned into coaching, and now he's back. Just still has a passion for athletes. And the thing I love about Duke, not only does he have a passion for athletes to be successful on the court, but off the court as well. He was always that go-to guy, you know, that the athletes kind of gravitated to when they had questions about not just about basketball, but about life. And so today I really want to talk to Duke about where that passion for basketball came from and his background growing up in Indiana. He's an Indianapolis guy. We know Indiana is known for their basketball, state of basketball. So, Duke, where did that passion for basketball come from? And also that passion of helping people be successful?
Thanks for the introduction, Tim. We are the mecca of high school basketball in the country. There's no other high school basketball done like it is in Indiana. So, but my passion for basketball came as a young kid, man. So, you know, growing up in a, you know, now poverty-stricken neighborhood, man, basketball was one of those things that we always did. You know, we had Washington Park, which is one of the prominent parks in Indianapolis at the time it was. But we played all the sports. You know, we played football, whatever season it was, we was playing. So whatever we could do. But down to my grandmother's house down the street, my grandmother had a basketball court. So, you know, I didn't have a court at my house. So me and my two cousins, that's what we did all day. Then the older guys would, you know, come down there and beat us up and do all that. But my mom played basketball. People don't know this, but my mom played basketball in high school. And my dad was a pretty good athlete in baseball and track. So basketball was just something that I picked up and I started playing. And I just, you know, I just always wanted to play. And so growing up in Indianapolis, I was kind of the better kid on our block of my age versus the older kids, the older men that were on our block. And they just saw that, you know, I kind of had a little bit to me. And I just took to details when people were teaching me the game. It was a place called Tabernacle. And I used to always just pay attention to details. So I always had a pretty decent shooting form. And my passion came because my parents told me I could do and be anything I wanted to be. So I knew I wanted to get out that neighborhood that I lived in. I just didn't know at the time how I was going to do it because I just used to look at NBA games on TV. You know, Isaiah Thomas was my idol, even though Michael Jordan was the man, but I knew I couldn't do what Michael Jordan did. So Isaiah Thomas was my guy. The fire came just from, man, I just wanted to get out the hood, man. I didn't want to live in that neighborhood all my life. So
I heard an interview where you talked about how back in the day, a young guy had to earn his right to get on the court.
Oh man, like so we at Washington Park. So the older guys, my older cousins and them. So at the time, they only had one court, like one full court. Wasn't no side rims and wasn't no 2 and 3 baskets. So you know, the little guys was like, man, can I get on? They like, nah, young fella, you too little. You know what I'm saying? So you would get those runs at the end when they all about to leave. Right. And, you know, when they throw you the ball, you got to do something. And if you do something, then you know what? Oh, I got a little man tomorrow. Yeah. But if you don't do nothing, they like, man, you got to go get your game right. So instead of us going to Washington Park every day, wasting our time trying to get on the court, we just grinded out over grandma's in the backyard. And that's how we did it until we was old enough to go to the park. And then we was like, all right, we done earned some stripes. And there was various basketball courts all over our neighborhood. So me and my cousin, so we're going to go and play. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go play the other kids in the neighborhood. And then when I got to junior high school, me and my best friend, Mark McClung, that's when White Men Can't Jump came out. We started betting. We started going around to the park, and my uncle would bet on us playing people 2-on-2. We didn't know he was making us better because we was playing any and everybody, but we knew we was trying to win that money that my uncle had because we wanted some money. So So, we just had to earn our stripes. And earning stripes was you was working on your skills, not like nowadays where they have trainers and all that type of stuff. We were just playing and being competitive because you got to hear about yourself losing. And I didn't want to lose. So you're going to get talked about all day if you lose. So we just was competitive like that.
Well, what was that moment? Take me back to that moment when you realized that, hey, I can be good at this game. This game can really take me to college, can really get me out of this,
Honestly, Tim, that moment came, one of my cousins, his name was Rob Franklin. He played at John Marshall. And so a lot of the guys in my neighborhood were really good, the older guys. And they used to be like, Duke, you know what, man, you could play. And, so the moment came, in junior high, we thought we was like bigger than 5'5" at the time because we would always come up short in junior high, but then we stayed together in my freshman year in high school. Our 7th, 8th, and 8th grade team, we all stayed together and we won the city championship at Arlington High School as freshmen. And so at that time, the varsity coach had promised me and another player that we were going to play varsity. Those promises didn't come available. But when I transferred to Lawrence North High School and played for the legendary Jack Kiefer, I had a coach named Coach Inman. And he says, you know what, you could play at the next level. And so then my switch went off. I always knew I was good, but I didn't know how good. But I found out I wasn't as good as I thought I was when I went to a camp in Vegas. And John Thompson, the late John Thompson, saw me. And he was like, man, you one of Kiefer's kids. And I was like, man, I didn't know John Thompson knew Jack Kiefer, but I had on my practice jersey and it said Lawrence North. And so I was like, man, I probably can play in college, but I knew I wasn't good as, man, at that time, it was like Mike Bibby, Kevin Garnett. And I would go home and be like, man, those jokers are like super good. But I had a coach, Coach Inman, he was like, he said, you can play at the next level. So, and that's when I started, really kind of, okay, let me take it a little bit more serious and try to work on my game.
Right. That's a great story. That's a great encouragement to a young guy, just to keep working, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Keep working.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I think young people need somebody in their life who believes in them,
Correct.
But someone to believe in them and just tell them. And these stories that we're sharing, you'll never forget them,
Never.
You remember that John Thompson like it was yesterday.
Hey, Jim, man, that joker said, y'all better not yawn in here. And I was like, I don't want to yawn. So yeah, man, and I think my neighborhood believed in me, even though me and my mom, when my mom and dad separated, we moved out of the neighborhood, but I would always go back and play, be in the neighborhood. I think my neighborhood believed in me. My older guys in the neighborhood was like, Duke, you still, every time they see me, man, you still playing. When's your game? We coming to the game. So that was that, like, I can't let my neighborhood down. You know what I'm saying? And like, okay, if don't nobody out the neighborhood make it, I want to be the one to make it out the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So that was always encouragement. And then my mom and dad, I just wanted a better life than them. You know what I mean? And my mom, she kept it instilled in me. You can do whatever you want to do, baby. You can go wherever you want to go. And I just knew basketball was my way out because if I didn't play basketball, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I knew I had to have good grades to play basketball. So I always kept my grades up. You know what I mean? And so I just, I knew that was my ticket out.
Yeah. Let's talk about that first team iHoops experience. I know for over a decade, you were in and out of so many different gyms, watching so many players play and observing so many things. When you walked into a gym, what picture did you have in your mind of the player you were looking for, to be part of the program?
First and foremost, I had a list. So I was hoping that whoever was on my list could actually play. You know what I mean? So at first I was looking for, man, can this joker really play? Does he have the potential to play at the next level? But I also was looking at how this young man carried himself. And, we talking about 7th to 8th graders at the time. 8th graders get ready to be 9th graders. So, they kids. So I had to remember they are kids, so they're going to do some stuff. But how did this young man carry himself on the court? And then I would also observe them when the game was over with, you know what I mean, and see what they doing. I know they run around and do kiddie stuff, but, how was his demeanor and things of that nature, how he talked with his parents, how that young man interacted with his coach, because most of the time, sometimes parents weren't there. So I would look for, I try to judge a little bit of character as much as I could by just seeing a young man play in one weekend, because I don't know when the next time I'm going to get to see him play. So that's what type of kid I was looking for outside of the usual, can he play, can he shoot, how tall is he going to get, things of that nature. I was looking for a decent young man per se.
You say you had your list. Give me an experience where you found a diamond in the rough, a guy that just jumped out at you. You was in the gym and this guy was not on the list, was not even on the radar screen.
Wasn't even on my radar screen.
Yeah.
I got a kid, Randy Culpepper. Randy wasn't on my list. There was another kid out of Memphis. I got a whole bunch of these kids, Tim. There was a kid named Jarvis Jones out of Memphis. And him and Randy, if I'm not mistaken, were playing against each other. And I was like, man, who? But I was looking for Jason Jones.
Okay.
I was like, man, who is he? Two little jokers, man. Them jokers was going at it. And I was like, man, let me write their names down. So that was one situation. I remember going to Florida. This guy, I was looking for a kid named Samal Shepard. And they played on, I wanted to say a YMCA team or something of that nature, Boys and Girls Club, something like that, a little small team. I was looking for a kid named Samal Shepard. And there was this other kid was like 6'6", 6'7", something like that. And I was like, man, this joker getting all the rebounds, bro. Like, who is this kid? And he used to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He played for the Miami Heat, Okaro White. And I mean, he wasn't on nobody's radar. He wasn't getting recruited. He was on nobody's radar. So I was like, yo, I gotta tell my staff, hey, this kid right here, he's good. So Carl Wright was one. And give you one more that was not on my list and nobody believed that this kid was good. I had to convince the committee to let the young man into our program. He plays for the Toronto Raptors. It was the kid named Fred Van Vliet. Wow. And I remember seeing this kid up in Gary, Indiana. We had a tournament, and I told my staff, I said, hey, man, I see the next Jason Kidd. They like, man, there you. And you know what? They was trying to get me to get Glenn Robinson's son. But at the time, I said, man, that joker, at the time, we 8th grade now. I said, man, I don't know about Glenn Robinson's son, man. He's so little. But Fred Van Vliet was another kid. I mean, I got a lot of those stories, Tim. But those are some. Carl White, Randy Culpepper, Jarvis Jones at the time, and I think I said Fred Van Vliet.
Yeah. So if you were going into a gym today, what would you encourage young men who are playing, to how to present themselves, both on and particularly off the court? Because if you're in those situations, you got a halfway decent game. But what are those intangibles that scouts are looking for, that people are looking for in a young man today?
Believe it or not, some of my, I had a 17U team this past year, and I used to teach them that when we walk in this gym, let's make sure we're presentable. Believe it or not, man, and kids and their do-rags. Kids love to wear do-rags. I get it's a fashion thing, but coaches look at it as, what's the do-rag for? I had one D1 coach tell my team, he said, man, when I see a kid with a do-rag, I know his hair is more important than his game.
Wow.
And I said, wow. He said, yeah, that man worried about his hair versus his game. So I don't know how much he's going to be committed to playing for me. So, image is everything. If you got your pants sagging, do-rags, things of that nature, young players need to realize, because the game is so broad and so open, Tim, I think they need to realize that you are on a micro, you under a microscope and people are watching you. So whatever image you portray, that's all they're going to judge you by until they see you play. And if you're not the top kid in the country or the top 10 in the country, then you just in a pond full of a lot of fish trying to be chosen. So how can I separate myself for somebody that don't even know who I am? And your appearance is everything, and how you carry yourself and how you walk around and act in that gym.
Here in the book, we talk about how important the first impression is, and you only get one time to make a first impression. You only get one opportunity. And then we also talk to young men about teams. You want to lead the place better than the way you found it. Meaning that,
Right.
you know, if you're over there drinking water, cups or whatever, you want to make sure that bench is clean, you know, for the next group that comes, you know, for the next team that plays, you know, in that place. So it's just those type of little things that that separator, you say, that separates you from the pond and everybody else, you know, in that pond. You're looking for that separation.
Right.
Speaking to, let's flip over to parents. What advice would you give the parents during this time on how to do this thing the right way, so to speak? You know, from your experience, what's the right way to do this? You know, to kind of be involved in your players' life.
Parents be parents.
Yeah.
You know, I think, and one thing I used to tell my parents when I was coaching, TB, is I don't go to your job and tell you what to do. Don't come to my job and tell me what to do. If you're going to let your son or your daughter be coached, let them be coached for those 2 hours by that coach. And then whatever it is that you like or don't like, you just go home and talk to your son or daughter about it. But at the same time, it's somebody else's way of doing things, and you either have to accept it or you don't. And if you don't accept it, then you probably should take your kid and go somewhere else. Just like if you don't accept everything on your job, you probably gonna start looking for another job. You know what I'm saying? So be active if your kids are being recruited, but also understand you being recruited too as a parent, okay? Because coaches are looking at you and how you act. And you know, and if you're not acting a certain way, coaches are looking at you saying, "Hey, do I want that person around my program?" Be active in your student or your child's, you know, recruitment or whatever they're doing in high school, junior high, whatever. And I think one of my good friends, the late Kobe Bryant, used to always tell me, if your son or daughter is not playing, it's probably not the coach's fault. He or she needs to work harder. At the end of the day, we can always say it's the coach's fault why they're not playing, but are you working as hard as you can to get on the floor? And I would tell parents, sometimes if you can, ask the coach, can I come and just sit at practice and observe? Because parents don't go to practice every day. All they hear about is, oh, my son didn't get to play. Well, you probably didn't watch him Monday through Friday at practice when he was loafing or things of that nature. So parents, if you're going to be involved, it's easy to just take your kid's side, but there's always a whole nother side. You know, visit the practice if the coach allow you to, and get the truth. You see what I'm saying? Because you might get to practice and be like, now I know why you ain't playing. Yeah, man, you only won one wind sprint. What makes you think you should be worthy of getting on the floor for one wind sprint? You know what I'm saying? So I think things of that nature. I think that's some advice I would share with parents, and just talk to your kids and be honest with them and tell them, man, if we're gonna do this, let's give it 110%. If we're not gonna do 110%, we wasting time. But I think nowadays parents want it more than the kids, Jim, and that's, for me, I can see it, and parents want it more than the kids. Sometimes you just gotta let your kids go and let them, you know, the cream gonna rise to the top. You know what I'm saying? So man, we could talk about parents all day, Tim. You know what I mean?
Advice. No, that's good advice for them. As we wrap up, when they do the documentary on first team basketball and iHoops, you know, and it's coming. What would you want that to look like? What would you want people to get from that experience? You know, what would you want players to glean from it, parents, coaches? What would you want that documentary to look like?
Man, that documentary, Tim, it's funny you said that, because, you know, I dibbled and dabbled in entertainment for a little while, and I was trying to work on that.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to work with some people and try to get a budget and things of that nature for that documentary. So hopefully we can one day get it done. I don't know who's going to put it together, but I would like for people to see how a small staff got it done. You know what I mean? And I would like for people to see how we took some kids and we changed their life. And nowadays, talking to all those kids, you know, I mean, Tim, about 80 of them are in the NBA now. Some of them overseas. And, you know, you talk to them today and it's 15 years later, you know what I mean? And they still talking about the magnitude of going to a conference versus even going to any college event that they went to versus any pro thing that they've done, that this little carrot was something in their life that like they still hold on to. A lot of those, I call them kids because that's what they was at the time, but they're young men now. When we talk, man, and we talk, they like, dude, I still have my notebooks from when I was in that program. I still use some of those things that y'all taught me in the program. I think table etiquette was one of the number one things that every person reminded me of, was table etiquette and whatever activity we took them to. And, you know, certain people have certain classes and things of that nature. I would like the documentary just to show how, and I had to give it to her, man, and Little, her vision for everything and how her and the mentors that they brought in to help mentor me along the way. We put together like a fairy tale, but it was a real fairy tale. You know what I'm saying? It was a fairy tale in this aspect of how in the world are they doing this with a staff of 4 or 5 people? And they giving these kids everything they wanted. We were competing against, at the time, Nike, Adidas, you know, Under Armour. They were just getting in the game. And we were competing with them, not competitively to have a team, but for some of their players. And at one moment, at one point, they players was like, man, I'm going to first team versus a Nike game or a Nike camp. You know, and I'm just use Nike example because they, you know, end all be all of youth basketball. So I would like that documentary just to show how some people were doing it for no interior motives. You know what I mean? To this day, and all the kids that played in the NBA, everything, I don't think I've ever asked any of them to give me an NBA ticket. You know what I'm saying? Now, you know, so we didn't do it for that. We were doing it to help kids get through that recruiting process and hopefully change their life in some way, shape, or form. As my big homie Greg Turner would say, help them become critical thinkers for themselves. So I think the documentary could be dope. I think, honestly, it would brighten up some of the NCAA, honestly, because it was an NCAA program, and I think it would shine light on one of the positives about the NCAA. But, you know, we have to figure out how we get some budget and some bread to make that happen, man. So Spike Lee or whoever out there, LeBron, since he's doing, you know, he's in the media now, you know, just have Maverick call me up. Right. Then we all sit down, figure it out, you know what I'm saying? So we would love to do a documentary on that thing.
Yeah. And I can attest, being one of the mentors, what a blessing it was for me. And really was not just about, think about the conference, not just about basketball. Matter of fact, basketball was secondary to the whole thing. It was about life skills. And you talk about those 80 plus guys who are in the NBA playing overseas, but there's hundreds of other guys who graduated from college and who are doing well, who are doing, may not have gotten to that next level, but they at least they were in position to get, and they had a choice. The main thing, I think, the first team basketball gave young men choices. It opened up opportunities for them. You know, they can go play college basketball. And you had guys who went to the Ivy League schools, you know, some of the top schools in the country, you know, to play basketball, but also to get a good education as well. So I think all those things were part of first team basketball. And those are my memories, just watching those young men and getting a chance to watch them from 8th grade to 12th grade was a blessing, you know, just watching their maturity, watching them grow every year. That they would, not only would they get bigger, stronger, and faster, but they would get smarter and wiser.
Correct.
Yeah. And I'll give you this last thing that the program did also. It not only educated the players, but parents as well. You know, the parents had a different light, because some of those kids were first generation college students or whatnot, opportunity for college, first one in their families to go to college, you know. So you guys help walk the parents through that process as well, you know.
Correct.
It worked twofold, and that was a blessing out of that. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, Duke, is always good, you know, seeing you and then kind of getting just hearing your stories. I know you got them. You got them. I want to encourage you as you go into this
got a
next phase
couple
of
of
your life, as you go into this next phase of your life, continue being the man you are. You know, continue being that humble man, continue being that spirit-filled man, continue being that leader, you know, that leader of men, because you're truly an example of what God can do when you're willing to work hard at it, you know, the benefits of that. And I've been blessed to watch you grow into the man you are today. So thanks for your time. I appreciate you joining us on the show today.
Thank you very, very much, TB, Mr. Tim Brown. I appreciate it. I love what you're doing, man. Let me know how I can ever be of any assistance to you, brother.
All right. Take care now, dude. Be blessed.
All right. Take care. Peace out.